Welcome back to another episode of the Manna Daily Podcast. Today, I am rejoined with one of my favorite hosts of the Bad Roman podcast. Be sure to check it out, Craig Harguess. I've been wanting to pick his brain on a particular topic. I've heard him talk a little bit on shows. Speaking for myself, I have sentiments in the area, not political party allegiance, and I think this is something that a lot of people don't seem to understand. That even when you're saying conservative, it does not mean automatically you're a Republican. You're just trying to conserve values, which we can face it. Republicans do not conserve anything because we can point and pinpoint all of the hypocrisy as the day is long. Craig, thank you for coming on for this topic, which is very near and dear to my heart, is talking about policy and political party hypocrisy that is so blatant to see, but it's so hard for people to grasp and ascertain how we see the world as a Christian.
Right. Yeah. And it was funny what you said about Republicans. I love the fact that they call themselves conservatives. I don't know any conservative Republicans anymore. I'm not even sure we were conservatives when I was a Republican.
Yeah.
Looking back, but I know it's so far gone now that I don't even think there's, man, I don't know. Sometimes you can talk to somebody on the left. It seems like they might be a little more conservative on some things than the Republicans are right now, especially with the guy they got in charge of their party.
Mm-hmm.
That dude's not a conservative. He never has been. He's been a New York liberal this whole time, and he duped the entire policy, the entire Republican Party. And it's kind of, sometimes I wonder if he's just trolling them. I mean, you know what I mean? Because it seems the way he behaves and the way the stuff he comes up with is not conservative, never has been. And I don't know. I've said it in the past. When he first came on the scene, I was like, this dude's trolling y'all. Y'all do know that this is not conservative. There's nothing conservative about this, so I don't know. Maybe he is trolling them. If he is, it's kind of funny that way because they are dug in, man. I've had some really interesting conversations lately with everything we've been seeing him doing, with the immigration, he's spouting off, he's excited about $1 trillion military budget, and I mean, come on. What's going on here? And I think I told you the first time I had you on the show, or maybe when you was on my show, or was on yours, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I remember mentioning the movie Idiocracy.
Mm-hmm.
We are living in the sequel right now of Idiocracy. I'm convinced of that. But I didn't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be part of that movie. I want out.
Same, dude. But I think if we are getting close to the end times, I'm like, I do think we are getting to that point. And I'm even the aspect with, seal our southern border, one of the first things I'm thinking is, okay, cool. But the minute he gets in, he talks about taking Greenland, making Canada the 51st state, maybe Mexico the 52nd state. And I'm over here going like, seal our borders, but we're going to annex this one, and this one. I'm like, wasn't there a guy in Germany in the 1930s that went to France, Czechoslovakia, and Poland? I'm like, it's literally the same playbook, and you're just like, we need to do it for our people. Yeah, okay. We need to bring back jobs. Yeah, okay. Our economy's sucking. Yeah, okay. And then you're going to expand and take all these other people's land, and you justify it as in, like, yeah, what's wrong with it?
And
we have ours,
right? And now we have concentration camps.
Yeah.
How are we not looking? How are they? They're not looking at this and being like, "Hey, we've seen this before." There's books written on this stuff.
And we literally are showing visual comparisons back and forth, and people still can't see it. Yeah. And it's sad. It's like, well, I know which side you would have been on during certain periods of history, the Trail of Tears. I know which side you would have been on.
Dude, some of the comments I see from folks, and I think you jumped on one of them on Facebook the other day.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
No, I loved it because that guy's one of there's two of them. There's two of them that come on my post and they cannot help themselves.
Yeah.
They're so dug in and they're so convinced that he's doing the right thing. And I'm not the same guy, but I told another one, he can't help himself but coming on the post. I've gotten to the point, I think I told you this too, I'm losing patience with him. I was calling him a scumbag, and then whenever I start saying this, because I believe that Trump is a scumbag.
Yes.
And I think 100%. His followers that take on his personality are scumbags. And then I beat myself up later for behaving that way because I don't want to come across that like a jerk, I mean, I don't know how to approach them because these people are not nice.
Yes.
And I don't want to paint all the Trump supporters that way. I know some who don't behave the way some others do, but some are really dug in, and
Statistics aren't
it's
looking
very
good.
cultish behavior. I mean, it's the strangest thing. I remember when Obama was president, and I remember watching how people were behaving, and I was like, man, they're acting like a cult. And then in 2016, but at that time, I was still, I was mad that Obama got elected. I was still a Republican. I was still, but in 2016, the way people were behaving about Trump, I was like, the Obama cult does not hold a candle to the Trump cult. And in 2024, and now they've doubled down. They're worse than they were in 2016. And real innocent people are dying. Real innocent people are being caged because of it. It's got to stop. The people need to wake up to this quickly, because I was listening. Do you ever listen to like the Jimmy Dore podcast?
I went to see him actually live recently.
Nice. I was listening the other day, and he kept repeating this. He said, well, he's not, I don't remember which episode it was, but he kept saying, and he's not running for re-election. He's not having to run for re-election. And the more I thought about that, I said, I think that makes him more dangerous.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
100%.
The fact that he doesn't have to win anybody over. He's there for 4 years. They're not going to kick him out. No matter what people say, they're not going to kick out a sitting president. That's just all political rhetoric, and it's just garbage. It's never going to happen. So I think it makes you more dangerous. I'm a little worried. I mean, not to the point where I'm going to leave the country or anything like that, but the guy's he's unhinged, and we're watching it in real time. And I think a lot of people are going to be harmed in the process. And man, we're in this first year. We got 4 more years of this stuff. What's going to happen in the next 4 years? We're just getting started, and it's this bad in 2 or 3 months now. Man.
Well, Eric Trump even said right now it's terrorist, but we will and we can do so much worse. The gloves are off. We're not playing around anymore. And I'm over here like, well, you sound like a lovely person. And then what was it on the White House? I think it might have been one of your pages. Maybe it was you. It was saying just comply and like everything will be fine. And I'm like, in what context? And why are you telling me like obedience is good to the state? And I'm like, this is where I'm finding it going, guys. They're even now threatening domestic citizens, people who have been born here, to be extradited over there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, does this not send off any red flag? Well, they deserved it because they're part of a gang, or they disagreed with our country. They were patriotic. It's like, when do we stop broadening that net? Where is the parameters? And even the whole process with due process, it does not say a citizen, it says a person.
Yeah.
So their whole argument of trying to say, well, he's illegal. I don't give a crap. I don't even support the system, but it's the aspect of, if we're going by your constitution, right?
Yeah.
Which I ironically in Latin it translates "you agreed to this."
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't agree to none of that.
Right?
Nobody asked me.
I'm saying is, it's like, but if we are going by what you are saying, oh yeah, like I saw one, like Trump's like the best president ever, and he's like the best. He keeps the Constitution. I'm like, no, he doesn't. He's violating it left and right. Well, he's also a good Christian man. No, he isn't. He violates that left and right.
Speaking of the due process and the Fifth Amendment, they gloss over it. They glossed over his violations of the Fourth Amendment, the Second Amendment. And then you go, nobody ever talks about the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. Nobody ever talks about that one. The guy when it says, like you said, it doesn't say citizen, it says no, a person.
Yeah.
Well, they don't believe that these people are people.
Yes.
They don't believe they're persons. And I was talking to a friend of mine. She messaged me something this morning, and I told her, I said, I hesitate. I hesitate toward use the word racism, any of that, because I think a lot of times it's used out of context without any real definition of what's going on. But I believe that if you listen to how Trump talks about immigrants and he targets them, I believe that he is racist. Now, his supporters, I think if they're taking on his personality, I don't know if they are, and I'm not going to apologize to any of your listeners that are Trump supporters, because I'm trying to be as honest as possible.
No, just do transparency.
If you're taking on the personality of Trump, you're low-key racist too, and maybe you don't realize it. If you're looking at these human beings as less than you, and they're inferior to you, then you are being racist. That's the actual definition of racism. If you
Yes.
look at a human being as less than you, inferior, you're a racist. That's the actual term of racism. Now, people can call a lot of things racist that I don't believe are racist. You know, it's just a buzzword sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's fitting with Donald Trump. And I've talked to some of his supporters, and they sound a lot like he does, you know, and it's sad to me.
Well, it's a cultural inferiority complex, and that is another form of racism.
Yeah.
The whole aspect when he says "America first," that was used as slogans during Ku Klux Klan parades. I kid you not. It's like, so we're not trying to, again, use a controversial fire word and get everybody all hyped, but we're like, no, this is legit. This is like documented. And as you're saying, I am seeing The Walking Dead. I am Negan. I am Trump. I am Patriot. I am, and there's no degree of, can you think for yourself?
Yeah.
Why are you so loyal to the state? And the fact, if you say you're a Christian, but you're using terms like, oh, illegal, our border, illegal still says you're still thinking like, oh yeah, both sides are corrupt. Okay, cool. I heard you say that. That's cool. Now you're saying illegal. You're now saying, but I still submit to the system or the rules thereof of the people who are corrupt that are dictating over me.
Yeah.
Our border, our citizenship is in heaven. Philippians 3:20. Like, you care more about temporary earthly borders over the destination of eternal souls. And one thing that keeps hitting me, Craig, is where we're reading in Matthew 7:21 through 23. I was naked and you clothed me. I was hungry and you fed me. Like, this is what I'm seeing. The brown people, you don't see them like that. And
Right.
you're saying we're doing this all in God's name of Christian nationalism. Imagine getting up there and he's going to be like, yeah, depart from me. I never knew you. You didn't live it. You read it on Sunday, but you didn't apply it to your brothers and sisters because, oh, borders, illegal.
Have you heard this from any of them? And I love this one. Whenever, especially when you try to appeal to their Christianity, their Christian side,
Right.
when you try to appeal to them that way, have you ever heard say, "Well, Jesus would just follow the law"? And I'm like, do you even know who
Yes.
Jesus is? When we're talking, because when they keep calling these people illegal, I said, well, who determines if they're illegal?
Hmm.
Well, it's the law. It's so who makes the law? And then I said, what if the law is immoral and you're a Christian?
Correct.
You can't just deem a person illegal for crossing an imaginary line created by the state.
Hmm.
That's immoral. I said, you would probably have Jesus arrested for fleeing Herod, him and his family for fleeing Herod. You'd have them all arrested.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus would just follow the law. No, he wouldn't. If it's immoral, we are called to disobey that. Romans 13 says to submit. It doesn't say to obey.
Mm.
Acts 5 says we're to obey God rather than man.
Yes.
Okay, so if the law, if man's law is in conflict with God's law, we are to disobey it. Now, we will submit to the consequences for disobeying, but we don't obey this stuff.
Right. And then dude, that's Daniel. That is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying. Ain't gonna do it. But
yeah,
didn't you hear about the legislation? I heard it. I ain't gonna do it
yeah,
because it's compromising my faith. That comes first and foremost, right?
yeah,
It's like no king but Christ. It's like, yeah, I'm in this country for this time, render unto Caesar, but I'm not gonna separate. Sorry, I am going to separate my faith from what your country is telling me to do. And if it means my death, so be it.
yeah.
Pretty basic, but I think what they've done, especially with the foundation of America, they're saying, well, our founding fathers, they were all good Christian men and stuff like that. And now they're trying to literally equate Trump in the same category. To say no to President Trump is say no to God, as Paula White, as we've said before.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Man with what, 36 felons? Like you said, like if we're going by your law or the law of our land, he's good, but we're getting rid of all these, like was it Garcia? We're getting rid of him, who's never been arrested. Even again, this is Pam Bondi's file as she released right there on the top of the freaking headline. No charges of criminal activity. He's never been arrested.
I saw that yesterday. And they love bringing it up, but well, he's an MS-13 member, and I'm like, how do we know? They could call you an MS-13 member and deport you.
Right.
If there's no due process, they can do whatever they want with you.
Dude, some of these people with Hispanic last names, I'm literally going, dude, you're eligible. No, I was born here. I was legal. No, you got a tattoo. And some of these people, they're like, oh, that's a gang tattoo.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's a sports. Like, I've seen some of these. It's a sports team, and they still took them out of the country because that classified as gang activity. I'm like,
it's unbelievable to me, man. I was sitting in the break room at work the other day, and there's Trump supporters at work. I mean, in the area I live, there's a bunch of Trump supporters. And
yeah.
there's one, and we got two TVs. One TV's on Fox News. Thankfully, the sound's down, which the captions are on, and the other TV's on ESPN. But they'll sit right there in front of Fox News and stare at it and take it all in. And I had enough of it the other day. And it was the day after. What's the new thing? The guy that said if you are calling, I can't remember the guy's name, but if you're calling for due process for the Garcia, then you could be arrested on federal charges for aiding abetting terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, so we're what? And so I said that I was stewing over it all day long, and I got to work, and I waited for all these Trump supporters to get in the break room and sit down in front of Fox News. I couldn't wait. And I said, fascism is alive and well in America, in the land of the free. How excited are y'all right now? Man, I'm telling you, I'm losing my patience. And sometimes I wonder if I'm going crazy because people are like, you got Trump derangement syndrome. I said, no, I'm just calling it like I see it.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's a maniac.
Yeah.
And this is not me Democrat. I like being called a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat or Democrat. I'm none of that. I for 4 years I called out Joe Biden and his atrocities.
Yeah.
But y'all don't seem to remember that. I'm an equal opportunity offender of the state. I don't care who's in office.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. They are if you are seeking power over me, I do not trust you.
Right.
I don't care who you are. And I'm suspicious of every politician. You know, there's some that we could probably say that do some better things than others, like Ron Paul or Thomas Massey or something like that. But at the end of the day, I don't trust them.
Mm-hmm.
They ran for public office. They ran to be in power over another human being where Jesus said, not so among you.
Mm-hmm. And
these people call themselves Christians too. People seem to forget that Donald Trump, in the first time he ran for president, they asked him if he'd ever asked God for forgiveness. And he said, I've never had a reason to.
Yes.
What Christian in their right mind would accept him as a Christian after hearing him say that? They gloss over it because he's not Joe Biden. He's not Hillary Clinton. I don't care. I don't care who he's not. I know who he is, and I know how he's behaving.
Mm.
And you're defending him. And I really believe if people keep, I think we're all going to have to answer for the way we propped up the state throughout our life.
Mm.
Even me. I did it for 16 years before I walked away from it. I've repented. I've turned around and went a different direction. But I still feel like I'm going to have to answer for it because my complicity in it caused harm to other people.
Right.
I voted for Bush twice.
Mm.
How many people did he slaughter? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How many people in the next 4 years, forget the first 4 years when Trump funded a genocide in Yemen.
Mm.
What about these next 4 years? How many more people are you going to be complicit with? If you're a Trump supporter and you are glossing over everything he's doing, how many more people are you going to be okay with him slaughtering? Right. We got 4 years to go. There's going to be a lot of people dead at the end of his term, his last term.
100%.
And I think people who support it, prop it up, ignore it, you're complicit. And I think you're going to have to, I know you're going to have to answer for this. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that looks like. You know, I don't know what it looks like on Judgment Day. But you're going to have to answer for this because you're being complicit in the slaughter of human beings, God's creation. Mm-hmm. And silence, ignorance is not an excuse. Silence is complicity.
Yes.
You have to be vocal when the oppressed are being oppressed. Mm-hmm. We are called to do that. Jesus says it all the time. We are called to be vocal, to point out the atrocities, the injustices. And just to say, well, I hate the lesser of two evils argument too. That's
Yeah.
stupid. That's a stupid argument as a Christian. If you're not a Christian, I guess I can give you a pass on it. But as a Christian, to say, well, he's lesser of two evils, no, you're a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
We're not to, we're to abstain from evil. We're not supposed to take part in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know we're all humans and we all do stupid things and we're all going to mess up from time to time. But man, something so blatant, something so glaringly obvious to me. And have you ever heard the phrase "eat crow"?
Yeah.
And I wonder sometimes if these folks are seeing it, but they're afraid to eat crow. They're so dug in, they're so invested in Donald Trump that they don't want to open up and say, you know what, I think I got this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We
Well,
saw it
so
with the I don't know if I can say the word. You know what I'm talking about in 2020.
yeah, C-19.
People
That's good enough.
people will not. People will still defend the way they behaved then.
Mm-hmm.
Some people woke up and admitted that they were wrong, but there's
Right.
still people in 2025 that are still convinced that they were right about all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to admit when you're wrong. Man, I've done it. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
If you're not wrong, you're probably not learning anything. You know, so it's okay to be wrong and it's okay to admit to it. And I think it's time for people who are watching this and if as a Christian, if you're watching what's going on right now, start looking at these actions by the United States government, Donald Trump and all of his goons. Start looking at this through the lens of Jesus
Mm-hmm.
and how Jesus would look at this. Don't tell me that Jesus wouldn't break the law because that's garbage. The early church was breaking Roman law all the time. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
it didn't agree with God's law, they were not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I sometimes I feel like I should shut all my social media down because these people are making me crazy. Then other times I say we still got work to do. There's still people
Yeah.
out there, you know, listening, and there's still people we're still trying to reach too. But man, myself, I'll speak for myself, my own mental health about this stuff because I got friends and family that behave this way. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why I go so hard at them because I've got friends and family, and it makes me sad to see them behaving this way or defending somebody like Donald Trump, who's a scumbag.
Yeah.
You know better. You know better. We were raised better. I come from a pretty good family. We're pretty moral human beings. We do, you know, we try to help people and do the best thing. You know how we're supposed to treat each other.
Right.
And this is not how we're supposed to treat each other. Not defending this. Stop defending it. It's time to start speaking out. It's time to be vocal and bold and pointing to the atrocities and look at this through the lens of Jesus. There's nothing about what Donald Trump's doing that Jesus would agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
It's time to defy, not to defend, honestly. And what you just said, dude, from day one, the first murder that ever happened, I hear your brother's blood crying from the face of the earth. Your blood is sacred to God. Blood is a celestial currency. It is a living force. And you're not saying anything? What does he say? 7 things the Lord hates. One of them, hands that shed innocent blood. We're supposed to advocate for the widows and orphans.
Yeah.
I don't see any of us doing that. And because, oh, third world country, not my problem. Oh, that's how you're viewing it. Oh, dude, it irritates me. And to touch on what you're the guy, I don't even know his name, so I don't need to say it. But the guy that was there, I noticed his yellow hat.
Yeah.
I love them yellow hats because here I wrote a little something similar to the vein that you were just saying. I said, start shaming people who are defending the extremities of this administration. It's sickening the amount of people claiming to be libertarians are licking this authoritarian fascist boots. Libertarian means limited government, not cheering for heavy fines and prosecution. And again, this is for myself. I take the word libertarian with a tribal libertarian, as in men should be masculine and lead their homes by incorporating a strong foundation of individualism under the submission to God first. So, literally living the dominion edicts without the necessity of a king, a government, or a political party. Living the sentiments, not fornicating my character with the hypocrisy of parties. Otherwise, fairly anarcho, being heavily against the rulers of cities, the minions of the archons, etymology there, In this case, our modern governments. To support this, you're supporting a technocratic totalitarianism, which is Elon Musk. And if you have no idea what that even means, you probably are quite asleep to reality and are borderline NPC normie at best. And again, some people read my inscription, dude. I'm not tagging people by name, but then they'll read it and be like, if it triggered you, right, instead of convicted you, that might be a form of idolatry within your own life. And that you're not, again, I see these posts. If Paul wrote a letter to the modern church of America, I'm writing an inscription. God's giving me a gift as a writer. And what are you doing? You're getting mad at the person that's calling out things by name, right? Yeah. I'll say it because you won't. And I'm tired of the timidity and conformity, which immediately God was prompting me. And he said, look up Romans 12, 1-2. Be not conformed to things of this world, but set your mind on things above. Yeah. We live in a conformist culture of, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Now, before I ask you your sentiments on the libertarian thing, I want to make sure that what I'm saying is vetted by Mr. Eat Bugs. Are you familiar with Klaus Schwab?
Yeah. I mean, I don't follow him around looking for. Oh, yeah, but I don't listen to anything he has to say. I know who you're talking about, though.
Yeah, I just want to play this one clip.
You have this anti-system movement. What we are seeing is a revolution against the system. So fixing the present system is not enough. Now there is, of course, an anti-system which is called libertarianism, which means to tear down everything which creates some kind of influence of government into private lives. It's dismantling the system.
So, as I said, I don't support any system, but I do support, again, masculinity. Make masculinity great again. I'm seeing a culture that is feminist Christianity. We're thinking with our emotions and, well, he's part of my party, so he can't do anything wrong. Can we think in the sense of individualism? Because the way I look at it is this. Once you get to individualism, you're now single. And this is where Christ can offer saying, hey, you want to be the bride of Christ? I have requirements if you want the family name, but you're going to have to get rid of all your old boyfriends, right? You can't text them anymore. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah. People can't even get to that part. So what's your thoughts on the party, especially that says they want less government, but they're advocating for this? What is, because I've heard you mention it on the shows, and I just want to clarify. There is a fine line between sentiments and swearing allegiance to a political party that you think will fix the problem, right? Yeah. Their sentiments are good because obviously Klaus Schwab doesn't like them. But could you break down the hypocrisy aspects that you see with the party that says we want less, but is encouraging all of it?
Before I ever had ever heard anything about libertarianism, Libertarian Party, when I was a Republican, I didn't know they existed. Mm-hmm. But then whenever I got away from the Republican Party and was seeking like a third party candidate stuff, and I got into libertarian circles, a lot of what I was hearing was stuff that I had already believed. I was just not doing. I was not applying it. I agreed with everything they were saying, not everything, but some. I was still working my way out of neoconservatism, so there was that.
Right.
You're not going to get a lot of libertarians to get on board with war, Right. But unfortunately, in today's age, the libertarians have lost all their principles.
Yes.
They're so hungry for any kind of relevance that they will sell their own soul for it. I listen to Joe Rogan sometimes, and he sounds like he might be a libertarian sometimes, but then he backed Trump. But then sometimes he'll have Dave Smith on the show, and I don't like Dave Smith. I think he's a grifter. I think he's a fraud. I do like listening to it. I think he's got good takes when it comes to like war. Okay. His anti-war stuff. I do agree with him on stuff like that. Now, I was listening to him the other day on the Rogan podcast, and I didn't realize that he voted for Trump. But I think he started to realize a mistake he made. because he was calling out Tulsi Gabbard. He goes, I was absolutely disgusted by Tulsi Gabbard right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm listening to this, and I've seen some other libertarians on social media saying similar things, that they're confused or caught off guard with the stuff she's doing and what's going on.
Mm.
And I'm like, how are y'all surprised that a politician is acting like a politician? Nothing's changing. Just because they say this now, but once they get into power, that changes up here. It doesn't. I don't know. I get so irritated with libertarians, because if they would just finally walk away like a lot of us have, you'd do a lot more good. Trying to fix the system is stupid.
Through the system, especially.
Through
I'm
the
like,
system,
good.
you can't.
It's rigged. Then keep your sentiments, but dump the party, any party, and just start living for Christ.
Yeah.
How hard is that?
There was a time before I moved, before I was getting ready to move to Memphis, before I knew I was moving to Memphis, before I got a new job, all that stuff. I was this close to running for state house in Arkansas. I had money, I had backing, I was going to run as a Republican. But I had a friend who I would call him my mentor. We disagree on a few things now, but I learned a whole lot about liberty from him, okay, and anarchism from him. And I asked him one time, I said, man, how come you don't show me any kind of support for this, for me trying to run for office, to get in there and try to fix this? He goes, man, he goes, I think you've got a good heart. He goes, I think you've got good intention. You might do some good. He said, here's the thing. You cannot change the mafia from the inside out. And I never thought about it. And so I really, my move to Memphis, to me, I call it a God deal all the time, because it got me out of that. I mean, I was going to run. I was still going to do it. I was still going to get involved with all that. Don't know if I'd have won, because the city I was living in was pretty liberal. And the sitting rep at the time, he'd been there for several years, so it would have been hard to beat him anyway. But I was going to do it. I was going to put myself out there. But I'm glad that this came up. I'm sorry, I'm getting off track, but anyway.
No, it's all relevant. All relevant.
My whole idea was to get in there and try to fix the system, change things. The Arkansas state government is one of the most corrupt in the country. I don't know if people realize that. Such a small state, pretty insignificant. As far as their influence, other than Bill Clinton, I guess. But it's pretty. It's pretty corrupt, and they're run by a bunch of Republicans, and they've taken on the personality of Donald Trump. But anyway, libertarians, get back to libertarians. They are, they're disappointing. They're very disappointing to me, because they say a lot of great things.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like, sounds great, cool sound, but can you live it? And that's the thing, is every time you vote, I'm over here going, everything you just said was completely wrong, because you just voted and canceled out everything that you say you believe in, right?
Well, we saw a lot of big name libertarians vote for Trump this time around. They did it the first time too. People tend to forget that. They did it then too. Yeah. They did it now. Like Tom Woods defended Trump all the time for some reason. I don't have any respect for that man anymore. I've lost a lot of respect for him. I've lost a lot of respect for libertarians in general, because especially when they seem so surprised that the government's behaving like the government. Just, and it seemed like a lot of them. What's the guy's name that Trump promised to get out of prison, and he did do it, but he did it to get libertarian support. I can't remember the guy's name now. I
know who you're inferring.
The Silk Road website guy. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, he did that, and libertarians cheered. It was exciting for them. They felt like, even like at the time, I don't know if she still is, the head of the Libertarian Party, she was taking credit for that, saying if it wasn't for libertarians, he'd still be in prison. And so they were taking credit for it. They were cheering. And I'm like, pump your brakes. You still have Donald Trump in office, who for 4 years committed genocide.
Yeah.
Okay. The Libertarian Party is supposed to be anti-war. It's supposed to be anti-war. You cannot call yourself anti-war if you vote for a genocidal maniac. It's not like they act like he was going to change. like he was going to be different this time around. And like I said earlier, I said, no, he's not running for re-election. He's more dangerous now.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these guys that I was talking about that run around, these two guys that I was talking about that run around all over social media. I see them all over the place on other people's posts defending Donald Trump. But one of them, he told me in the very beginning, he goes, I don't think he is who you think he is. And I told him the other day, I said, you're right. He's much worse than I thought he was. And I believe that. He's much worse than he was the first time around.
He even said in Florida at a Turning Point USA thing while the Olympics was going on, says, Christians, get out and vote. Just this one time.
Yeah.
I love Christians. I'm not Christian. Dude, that's what he said. But everybody wants to argue the semantics. What he said after that is the most important part. If you want to just like, he says, after 4 years, we'll have it fixed so good you won't have to vote anymore. Yeah. And I'm like, did you hear what he just said? Isn't our whole thing not to form like a dynasty or a monarchy, and we have the freedom to keep voting? And I'm like, and again, I see these other libertarian pages. They're over here like, yeah, they're all cheering on election day. Yay, Trump won, blah, 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 blah. And then 3 or 4 months later, stocks are bad, taxes are bad, Trump's doing this, Trump's doing that. It's like, you voted for him. You literally were cheering and showing you were at some rally 3 or 4 months ago, and then you're telling me, oh, what he's doing is now bad. And then you're defending this whole Tesla thing. It's like half of that, I think that's just Elon doing self-sabotage so he can collect on insurance because he's getting stuff going on in Canada. But everybody's over here like, what are you talking about? He's not our friend, guys. He's got tech for Mark of the Beast stuff, and you're over here defending him because, oh, he's now friends with Trump. Republicans, I thought we were against EV vehicles. Now we're all suddenly for it because Trump's with. It's mind-boggling for me, dude. I can't understand how they don't see the hypocrisy, as you said. I'm frustrated as hell because I'm like, it's so freaking obvious. Like you keep saying, every 4 years they change their opinion on something. Yeah, and now it's your party, and you don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody that's defending it, you're complicit. Again, I'm going to say it again. You're complicit.
Yeah.
This is your fault. You did this. Okay. And the Elon Musk stuff, I think you're right too. I think that's a lot of that's just a show.
Yes.
It's a distraction. You know, because we could set. Speaking of Fox News, I told somebody, and I've said it several times on my own show, that I used to fall asleep watching Fox News. You know, I ain't lying. I'd wake up, Fox News still playing. You know, but where was I going with this? Oh, you can set it on Fox News. You can see right now when they're talking about like these immigrants. Getting away from the libertarian thing again, but you talking about immigrants, and if you read that caption or the headline on Fox News, Democrats are defending gang members.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What? What? I've not heard one Democrat defend a gangster.
Or it's even
I'm
like,
not a Democrat, and I'm not defending them. I just think they deserve a fair trial,
right,
to make sure that they're actually guilty of something. You know what I'm saying?
Like the people who are pro-civil rights and humanitarian, it's like, I'm pro-humanitarian, not Hamas. Huh? It's like, I'm against ideologies, not ethnicities. So your whole it's like, that doesn't add up. No, sorry. But they don't seem to realize it, dude, is that they're inverting basics. It's like, I thought we learned this in the 1960s, but apparently we didn't.
Yeah.
Because we're still doing it. And then I'm seeing
like we're regressing. It's like we're going backwards, you know. Instead of getting better, getting and improving society, we're just going backwards.
Yeah.
You know, the vast majority of people have the mind or the memory of a goldfish. They can't remember what happened. Once around that trip around that goldfish bowl, they forgot everything that has happened in the past.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't get it, you know, and one more thing about the libertarians, and we can continue to talk about that if you want to, but any libertarians listening to this right now, if you went out and voted for Trump, you're complicit.
Mm-hmm.
Even if Trump lost, okay, because your vote is propping up an evil system. And if you call yourself a Christian and you're voting, you are propping up a kingdom of this world. Libertarian, Republican, Democrat, I don't care what party you align with. You know, you're propping up a system that is contrary to God.
Yes.
It is against Christ. I don't care what they say. They're liars. They're thieves and they're murderers. And there's nothing about them that says, oh, they're going to change the system. Nothing. I don't care what they're saying on the campaign trail. It's a lie. It's a lie. And if you can't remember from one year to the next, 1 week to the next, one day to the next, what these fools are doing on a daily basis, that's your fault. Pay attention. Wake up. Take this more seriously because, like I said earlier, real people are going to die. And I'm not trying to be defeatist or paint a grave picture. I'm just saying we've seen this for the past 25 years.
Yeah.
Starting with the war on terror. How many millions of innocent people have died because of our vote? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I did that too. I voted for Bush twice. I voted for John McCain against Obama. I voted for John Kerry, or not John Kerry, what's the guy? Mitt Romney against Obama. They would have all killed innocent people had they won. Obama, for 8 years, killed millions of people.
Yeah.
You know, Democrats, too, seem to forget this. Do you remember when they drone bombed an American citizen in another country, and they just kind of laughed it off?
I think I vaguely remember something like that. Yeah, it was in a street, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, and there were American citizens, and I think I saw it on that Facebook page, Liberty Minds. They brought it up.
Yeah,
they brought it up because Democrats tend to forget this, that your guy did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Obama deported more people than Trump.
Yeah.
Biden deported more people than Trump. Now, the way Trump's going about it now looks a lot worse. Or maybe we just weren't seeing it like we are now. I don't know if it's the news coverage or what.
Right.
But I don't remember any concentration camps under Biden. Maybe there were. But I just wasn't aware of it. But it's all over the news now.
Right.
And Christians are cheering for it. How can you as a Christian cheer for something like that? These are God's people too. And yes, some of them probably are horrible people. Some of them probably are murderers. Don't get me wrong. That does not mean you treat them inhumanely.
Right.
If you saw the pictures of these prisons where they got them lined up, and I found out later that those were pictures back from 2020, but it's still the prison that they're sending these people to.
Right. It's like this is their fate.
This looks like a slave camp to me. It's a concentration camp. Let's be real. There's the guy in prison down there that's done no wrong. American citizen got deported, and the El Salvadoran president he said I don't have any power to get him out.
Right.
You're the freaking president of that country. You can't pull any strings to get that guy out of prison and get him back to where he's from. Donald Trump, big bad Donald Trump, the badass of the world that the supporters think he is, can't pull any strings to get this guy out and get him home.
Like he did for Andrew Tate.
Give me a freaking break.
Yeah.
Give me a freaking break. This is garbage, man. And I'm telling you, I'm losing pain. I'm sorry.
No. Everything you're saying, I agree wholeheartedly. I'm tired. I'm tired of literally having to break it down in baby food steps. Do you see how bad this is? Do you hear how double speaking you sound right now? Like you say one thing that this is happening to them, and because you don't care about their freedom, why should I care about yours when yours is going to be coming to taken away?
Yeah.
If they get rid of your relative or something like that, I'm done with it, dude. I'm not going to sit here and defend you and nurse your wounds. Like you, I can't be cordial at this point. At this point, what you are saying, you are just as psychotic as your leader.
Yeah. And we don't have any time to sugarcoat any of this either. We're running out of time. Yeah, people. If you don't think that what's happening to these people won't happen to you, you're a fool.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll do it to you. And if you're going to be complicit and you're going to defend it, they're going to do it to me because you're complicit with it. You're defending it. You're cheering it on.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm free in this country. I don't think we've ever been free in this country. I think it's gotten worse over time. Now, but if you're going to make it worse on me rather than better, you're not my friend. You're my enemy.
Mm-hmm.
We're not friends.
Statist or saint? You can't be both. and I'm chuckling, dude, because for me, whether we're there or not, this is Antichrist makes war against the saints. Main part to take away from that, the word saint means set apart. You make war against people who are set apart from what? the system, the things of this world. And why are they trying to extinguish truth in people who are causing a problem? Because we're living the word as Christ did. And we're a problem to you because you are living as your government tells you to do and how they interpret the Bible. And that is not of God. And again, that is the whole premise of what Satan was trying to do. Did God really say it when he tempts Christ in the wilderness? Yeah, here's a verse. Yeah, but this verse cancels out where you're trying to go with that. Nice try, though.
Yeah.
This is what they're still doing today. They're inverting God's word to make it fit and make your life palatable. No, I die to self daily.
I
And
think they're a
because you
bunch of
can't,
cowards.
oh, dude, and I've been calling it out. There's people I'm like, you know what? We've been friends for 5-6 years. I'm going to say it right now. You're a coward. And that's it. And, I'll list all the stuff and I'm done. Block. That's it. I can't tolerate it, dude. It's at a point where the Bible is not something to just read on Sundays. It is something to live every single day of the week. And that applies to things internationally and just, in your community. And if you are defending things of a corrupt government that is tyranny, I thought the whole alleged premise of how we founded as a country was to defy tyranny. And now I'm seeing you guys lick boots left and right. And
Yeah.
it's sickening to watch, dude.
The
Because I'm
right.
seeing it in real time. Like, do you see how you look right now? It's
Yeah.
disgusting how much you simp for this stuff. It's
Yeah.
disgusting. And then they say, you know what? I'll allow it. As long as they keep going after the brown illegal felons and not my convicted one, I'll allow it.
Yeah.
It's dude, I can't take it.
The right is way more subservient to the state than I ever thought the left was. The left is too, but don't get me wrong. But man, it's on such a different scale with the right. Gun control is going to come from the right.
Yes.
Everything, they do not care. I don't care about the Constitution either, but it's there. They should at least pay lip service to it. They don't even do that anymore. They used to pay lip service to it, but they don't anymore. I could probably really make you insane by adding you to this political group I'm in on Facebook that I've been a part of since I was a neoconservative. Went from neoconservative to constitutionalist to libertarian to anarchist. So I've gone a long way over the past few years. But the people in there, it's maddening, dude. I'll share stuff constantly just to get and I don't even go and I very rarely even go look at any of the comments.
Yeah.
Because it's all the same thing. I'm a Democrat. I'm a liberal leftist or whatever their new names are, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you want to be insane on a daily basis, I'll add you to this group and you can have a ball. But I don't recommend it. I've just got some friends in there, so I stick around. So, but it's a small sample size of what's happening across the country.
Yes.
Among Trump supporters. I don't see any Trump supporters apologizing right now.
Hey.
They should be. Even 2 months in, 3 months in? 3 months in, they should be apologizing for what they've done. Stop defending it. It looks really bad. You're a bootlicker. You've got that boot is so far down your throat and you don't even care. Everything that you're afraid of when it comes to freedom is going to come from your guy.
Yeah.
It's going to come from the right. I promise you. Now, we saw a lot of stuff back in 2020 that the left was doing, but don't forget, your guy started this. Mm-hmm. He unleashed Fauci on the country.
Yes.
I think he even gave Fauci a medal.
An award. Yeah, upon leaving. It was, yeah.
He calls himself the father of the jib jab.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's he's unapologetic about all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the glossing over it. I think that's what bothers me the most about it, because you can point all this stuff out to him. It's so I don't know what it is, man. Maybe they're in a brain fog. I don't know, but it's so obvious to us. Why can't they see it? And I don't know what it is. I think is they don't want to eat crow. They're dug in. They're in a cult.
Yeah.
They're
lovers of themselves, dude. And this is I've stated this before. I said the left is ignorant, the right is arrogant. The left is not going to be the one that hurts me. The ones that are arrogant, those are the ones that are going to be the boot soldiers that come and pick me up. The red hats, I think, are like the new brown shirts.
Yeah.
Because you, again, and it's like it captivates you in a spell, literally a cap. It captivates you in this spell where once you have it on, again, I am Negan, and then you are the zombie. The Walking Dead, if you ever listen to the theme of that, dude, when they're going around, they have a scraping sound in the background. Why? Because that's a warden rubbing his little baton against the cell bars. The Walking Dead aren't the zombies. It's the people that survive. It's just a matter of time until you die or succumb to what everything else is happening in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm seeing right now with politics. You're in a jail, and most of your alls are zombies. And again, as Christians, we're trying to be fishers of men to reel you out from your things of this world. And it's just like the rich man, dude. Can you get rid of your politics? No. Well, then again, it's going to be easier to go through the eye of a needle. You can't get rid of your politics because half of the thing of politics is materialism. What do I get if I vote for this person, right? And you're putting a substitute before God. How do they not understand this? And what I can't go to church anymore. I'm done. I like I said, I keep making fists now because I'm hearing a nationalist sermon about our southern border. I'm hearing about justifying dispensationalism, which again I broke down that word. Dis set apart. Pensation comes from compensation. So dispensationalism is setting apart a particular land for basically reparations. I'm like, so you tell me you don't support BLM, but you're still supporting it for our chosen people over there. In essence, with the literal name etymology. And they still don't see it, dude. You literally go etymology. You go Bible. You go history. And they don't want to see truth. I hate to say it, dude, but this is just like with Pontius Pilate. What is truth? Standing right in front of you, it could smack you in the face if it wanted to right now, and you don't see it.
Yeah.
You're too concerned with the affairs of state.
Yeah. Do you think your audience, how much of your audience do you think are still dug in?
I would say again on Instagram every once in a while they pop up and we have a nice little discourse and block. I don't even tolerate it. But the
I've
majority,
actually started considering blocking people lately because it's just from my own sanity. It's not worth it to me to spend time on social media arguing with people I've never met in real life.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Then they get nasty and I'm like, you know what? For my own sanity. It's not because you disagree with me. It's I don't have time to lose brain cells trying to break down.
Yeah, I got work to do. I've got things to do. We've got a whole project with the Bad Roman that we're reaching people that want to be reached. They want to learn this stuff. Those are my focus. I don't have time to deal with somebody who's going to defend a maniac.
Yeah.
And I've considered blocking people. I haven't done it yet because it's not really my style. Usually I'm the one that gets blocked. They'll get sick of me and just block me. Usually that's how it works. So that's what I keep hoping.
Yeah.
But what I do know too is some of these people that come at me on social media, not one time do I spend any time on their posts. I don't care. I mean, I care, but I'm not going to waste my time on your post telling you how wrong you are about all this. Why do you insist on coming on mine?
Right.
What is it about this man that causes you to defend him to the teeth? What is it? I don't know how. I can't stand to listen to the man talk.
Same.
I woke up, my TV's on. I woke up and I don't remember what streaming service I had it on, but it was a replay of The Apprentice. And I kept hearing Donald Trump, and I'm like, what is going on? And I had to change the channel. I can't stand listening to the man talk.
Yeah.
You listen to him, he sounds like an idiot. He is an idiot. Well, he can't be an idiot. He's got billions of dollars. I said, he's filed bankruptcy 7 times, hasn't he? You know, maybe he's found a way to beat the system. I don't know because I don't know. But the guy's an idiot.
There is a way to work the system with that, but yeah.
I don't know how you can listen to the man. Man, I don't know how to say this without being completely rude, without sounding completely rude. But when I say that they've taken on their personality, taken on the personality of Trump, they sound like him too. They sound like idiots as well to me.
Mm.
I'm not saying that I'm super intelligent or smarter. You know what I'm saying? But when I
100%.
listen to them talk, they sound like a bunch of 5-year-olds.
Yes.
Like it's like their brain it's still forming. Like you know what I'm saying? That they're still immature. They've not grown up. And that's the way he sounds. That's the way he sounds to me too.
I saw a meme. It was somebody with a kid saying, like, I don't know how to defend Trump on this, so I'm just going to pull a whataboutism, about this person, that person, some of that. It says, we're not talking about that, right? We're talking about what you did to this person, okay? Yeah, but what? No, we're not. It's like you keep going back through the circle. We're talking about you, not the Adamic excuse. It was Eve. It was the serpent. No. You.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do that. And I think that's part of the problem, dude. With government, it is always, I can point at somebody else. They're the one that did it. The king you put over me. It was the king. Don't blame me. I was just obeying orders. Obeying orders, right? That's the first rule of every soldier. Not the words of a free man. That is the credence of a slave.
Yeah.
And this is the problem, dude, is that everybody, you have this codependent Stockholm syndrome to the state, and you're now living in a form of cognitive dissonance because people are telling you you're in an abusive relationship, and they're over here going, well, he still gives me a place to stay every night. I'll beat you before you go to sleep, right? This is what it's like watching it, and you're over here going, listen, at a certain point, I don't want to hear you complain about the relationship anymore, because I've told you there's a home down the street that you can go to get help. I've told you to go to the cops or whatever to confront him, and you keep making excuses for why you're living in this thing. And as you said, after a certain point, I'm going to cast my seed, let the seeds fall where they may. I can't stick around and see where the pearls fall, right? Pearls before swine. You guys aren't going to get it. And honestly, dude, I'm getting dust off your sandals now.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I
it's
love
not
that.
just solely dust off your sandals. What's on the bottom of your sandals? Dust. And what are we? Dust of the earth, dust thou art. The cross represents earth, right? So these people love their little sandbox of earth, the kingdoms of earth. Your country is not going to be in eternity. Your flag is not saluted in eternity. But you love the things of this earth so much, so here, keep your sandbox. I'm done. I'm here to recruit people for the kingdom of heaven. I think that's very symbolically potent for us to grasp.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me when I was talking about that political group. Somebody asked me, they go, "Do you even work? You post all the time." I said it's easy for me to share a post and then go on about my day. I'm not going to stick around and argue with you. I'm going to share something, give you something to think about.
Yes,
but when you talk to them too, there's no substance to anything they're saying. Politics has gotten so bad now. It's always been bad, but it's gotten so much worse now that there's no real debate. There's no real conversation to be had. It's all about making sure your team beats the other team. And I had one of the admins from, speaking of that Liberty Minds Facebook page, I had one of the admins on the show. He's a Christian.
Yeah, I listened to that episode. Yeah.
It was an awesome conversation. And I remember him telling me, he said, in his mind, Kamala Harris is the lesser of two evils between the two. And if you say that to a Trump supporter, they're going to lose their mind because they don't see it. And I think he may be right. I don't know. She was going to do the same thing when it came to Israel and Palestine that Trump would. They all do. They all kowtow the Jews, the Israelites, to the government of Israel. So that's the playbook. Mm-hmm. But I think maybe he might have been right. I don't know. Maybe she wouldn't have set up a concentration camp. Who knows? But we do know that Biden deported more people than Trump, and she probably would have done the same thing. Mm-hmm. But but there's no conversation to be had. I had a guy, one of the guys too, in one of that group. He said, why do you just comment? If you do comment, you don't stick around. He goes, you're pretty good at that. I said, 'cause I'm not going to waste my time doing it. Mm-hmm. Y'all are going to say the same thing over and over to me. And what's so funny to me about this is they behave exactly like the other team without even recognizing they're behaving like the other team. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They are behaving like the team they hate. All you got to do is look in the mirror. That's you who you're mad at. It's so asinine to me.
dude. Like you
And I
said, it's
think the only way to
go ahead.
I think the only way to recognize it is to walk away from it. Like
Yeah.
I told you too, when you had me on, when the scales fall off, you see things more clearly. The Bible jumps out at you a little bit better. But I think when you're muddied up with statism, when you're muddied up with the things of this world, you can't see things for what they are.
Mm.
Tribalism is a bad thing, man. We need to be individuals, like you mentioned earlier. This
Yeah. Right.
this tribalism mentality among the statists is bad. It's gotten so much worse. It's a team sport, team R and team D. And you got little team L trying to play too. They're trying to get in the game as well. Put me in coach. But they're not. They're irrelevant. The libertarians. I think the Libertarian Party's done.
Yeah.
I think they're done. They're
I don't think they
that
ever
party.
were.
Well, you're right. You know what I'm saying. Back when they started, what was it, Harry Brown who ran for president? I think they had some good ideas.
Yeah.
The core principles of libertarianism is a good idea.
Thank you. That's it.
But the party's done. They're
Yeah.
broken. They're broken. When you think about we're back talking about libertarians again.
No, dude, it all interconnects.
When you think about the Mises Caucus bunch, you familiar with them? Dave Smith, Tom Woods, Scott Horton, all the big names of the libertarians. The libertarians were all part of this Mises Caucus, and it fractured that party.
The caucus?
Yes, because it broke them up. There was so much more libertarians always fight with each other anyway.
Right.
But there was so much infighting because of this, because the Mises Caucus really takes on the personality of Trump as well.
Right.
And that's why they all voted for him. They didn't vote for their guy. They didn't vote for the nominee of the Libertarian Party. None of them voted for the LP guy. I don't know why. I think he was gay. I don't know, but I don't know if that's why but they didn't vote for their own guy. They voted for Donald Trump. Well, are you libertarian or are you neoconservative?
Well, because they have such a flip-flop perception with like, okay, yeah, I'm libertarian, but I'm going to go with the red again. It's like, okay, so you have, again, if we're going by their logic, you haven't transitioned from your party then, because you keep going back to the Republican, right? He said he's running on the Republican, not independent, he's going Republican. So you're going right back to the elephant. And they don't seem to get it, dude. For me, it's like they're like, I have finally found myself. Then they turn around and hit their head against a brick wall. That's what it looks like every single time. And I'm just like, okay, that was cute. Is your face okay? Because it doesn't look okay to me. I'm able to see what you look like. And then again, it's the same thing every 4 years. Yeah, then it goes right back. And it's the redundancy of it. And as you said perfectly, they started out, the sentiments are great. But the fact that you guys are, again, I remember I went to, I think it was about 8 years ago, I went to like a Turning Point USA thing. And I mentioned to a guy, I said, I'm libertarian, sentiments. First thing he says is, so you're pro-abortion? And I'm like, whoa, no. Said, first and foremost, like everybody's supposed to have their own right. I said, that's a human life. Yeah. I said, I have no jurisdiction on dictating if that person should come or go. But I'm laughing because, again, like I said before, we throw a label of stereotype on one person. This is how people are arguing now. With that clip with Klaus Schwab, libertarianism, not the party, ism, because you're going against the system. That's what he doesn't like about it. And again, our anarcho would fall under that category because, yeah, go away. We got God. Thank you.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is they're arguing amongst themselves, and they're taking some from this side, some from that side with their politics, and then they flip-flop so much amongst themselves. Whereas a Christian saying, yeah, I understand. I got to lead. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You guys do your own thing. But as a Christian, I'm going to emulate the testimony of we live for Christ, no king but Christ. And this is, but they don't grasp it, dude, because all of a sudden they're over here going, well, I got to go to a caucus and they're going to tell me how to think about this. And it's like, you can't even think for yourself. That's the problem, dude, is that people are too busy listening to everybody else talk. They can't hear themselves think. or they can't look at themselves in a mirror and be like, oh, that does kind of sound. And that's where I think that's honestly where anarchos are, is they finally took the moment to say, you know what, I'm going to take a look at the man in the mirror, as Michael Jackson said, and start from here, not with the party, with myself.
Yeah, exactly. And I've really distanced myself from any labels such as libertarianism or libertarian, and a lot of the times even anarchist, because I have a huge problem with inconsistency.
Yeah.
Libertarians are super inconsistent. Like I said, the core principles are great, but if you can't stick to them, then you're inconsistent. And I can't deal with you. I can't deal with that. That's I think I told you before too, that I see everything in black and white. There's really very little gray that I see. And I think people have a problem with that, but I can't help it. And when it comes to anarchists too, there's so many different flavors of this that it's a waste of time to even try to explain that too. I was talking to some guys last night on a Discord channel, and this, you know who Michael Malice is?
No.
He's a pretty big podcaster, anarchist. Big. A lot of anarchists love him. I mean, I like a lot of what he has to say. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But when he comes out on the Joe Rogan podcast and says he donated to the Fetterman campaign, and if Fetterman ran for president, he would vote for him. And I'm telling these guys this, and because they're all defending Malice, and I said, but that's inconsistent. That's not anarchy.
Fetterman?
Yeah. They love him. They love him.
Libertarians like Fetterman.
Michael Malice loves him. Anarchist Michael Malice loves him. Said he donated to his campaign, said he would vote for him if he ran for president. This is an anarchist, a big name anarchist saying this. And that's what I was telling these guys last night. I said that's inconsistent. Yeah. Again, he says a lot of great things that I agree with. But if you're going to be an anarchist, if you're going to hold to this philosophy, you got to stick to the philosophy of anarchy. Because if it's inconsistent, I lose interest, and I've lost interest. When I first started understanding the philosophy and started calling myself an anarchist, I was telling everybody. I discovered something, that I said finally I found the most consistent philosophy, ideology, political philosophy that I can hold on to. It aligns with my faith. And then 5 years later, 6 years later, however long it's been now, I don't care about the phrase anymore because it's not consistent. The philosophy is, don't get me wrong, it's the people that make it inconsistent.
Yes.
Don't tell me you're an anarchist if you're running for political office.
Yep.
Don't tell me you're an anarchist if you're voting. The whole idea of the philosophy is no masters, no rulers. And if you're voting for a master or a ruler, that flies in the face of the philosophy of anarchist.
Yes. You
can't look me. I'm not going to take you seriously if you call yourself an anarchist. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And a lot of anarchists get frustrated with me because I've started saying this out loud on my show. I've been saying it out loud on social media. Whoever will listen. I don't care if you're upset with me. If we're not going to start calling these people out for their inconsistencies because they are soiling a wonderful philosophy, they're making it what it's not. If we're not going to call them out, then we're being complicit in them screwing this up. If more, and this is getting back to libertarians too, if they would just finally walk away from it, take that go full born into libertarianism and walk away from the state. We could do so much more good out there in the world, change this world for the better, if we got away from statism, we got away from politics and helped our neighbor, loved our neighbor, even our enemy.
Yes.
We could do this. We don't need the state. We don't need the government. Everything they touch, they screw up anyway. Why are you trying to fix that?
Yes.
Walk away. And if everybody in the Libertarian Party, everybody with the idea of libertarianism walked away from it, that just grows our numbers more.
Yes.
And we could defeat the right and the left. If there's more of us, there's more of us. There's nothing they can do about it.
Mhm.
Walk away from it, man. Walk away and let's go. Let's move forward. Quit regressing. Quit. It's time to repent. Let's use that word again. It's time to repent. Turn away. Walk away. Change direction, and let's move forward because we're going backwards, or you're going backwards and you're dragging me with you, and I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm going this way. I'm heading towards Jesus. I'm heading towards what Jesus wants us to do. That's where I'm going. Don't pull me into your garbage.
You're making me think anarchy's symbol should be an anchor. I ain't budging. I'm done. I'm right here. That's it.
Yeah.
You're not taking me with you. The boat's staying put. And
Yeah.
I love what you're just saying, dude. And I need to get this rant and this mentality out there. There was a guy, I wrote one comment, and he was saying it was about corporations and a secret society. And he wrote, "Oh, conspiracy theorists." I look on his profile. I kid you not. His bio nickname is Captain Anarchy. Again, consistency. I said, all right, listen, even if it wasn't a conspiracy theory, let's break this down for you. And he never replied to this comment, by the way. I said, all right, let's break it down. I says, you're calling yourself Captain Anarchy, right? That means you're going to be a champion of what you believe in with the sentiments of anarchy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, corporations, secret societies, elites are doing something and making money in the form of the state, the form of the government, right? And I'm telling you specifically, I'm giving you a name of what this thing is called, and you're now telling me, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. The whole point of being an anarchist is conspiracy, and you finally woke up to the fact and said, I'm against all of that, and all of the intricacies. Like, I don't even know all about it. I just know enough. So the very premise that you're calling it Captain Anarchy is stupid. You should call yourself Captain Dumbass because you're not consistent with what you just said. And I'm sorry, folks, but that's literally what I'm like. That's literally what you're telling me. That's just basic, dude. And it's not like I'm asking for rocket science. I'm just saying, like, do you live by what you say? And tribe, not tribal, tribe sentiment. We all come to the Agora Lodge at the powwow, right? And we speak our own mind. We don't send a representative to speak for me.
Yeah.
Right? Because just like when you go to the throne of God, you're going to have to give an account for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And if we had fellowship, brotherhood, community, as in talking to each other, we help reprove and refine our Christian walk with each other, right? And as you said, if we started doing that, that prompts people to go, hey, Paul, you want to come up top of Mars Hill? People are leaving temples. People are dumping idols. You're converting district by district of Rome without drawing a single sword, not joining the Senate. What is this new philosophy? Not a philosophy, it's a faith.
Yeah.
What? They ask of the hope and the faith that's within you. And then when you get to the Tertullian, if you want to get into a little bit more about that, like with the flag phrase, this is the early church, not Constantine. That is the early church. And they're willing to die for what they said, like even Stephen the martyr. Christ was silent at his trial. You got lucky. Stephen? All right, here's the history. And we're still reading about it today. And they hate that. When you speak truth to power, we have to get rid of you. But what does it say? Stephen, filled with the Holy Ghost, sees God the Father and Christ on the right side of the throne of God. Because if you're filled with the Holy Ghost, you don't care. If you want to kill me, it's fine. Don't add it unto them. I said my piece. Eternity, here I come. So anyway, do you want to go a little bit more into Tertullian? Anything? So I think that's a good resource if anybody could find a book or kind of gauge some of his work. I think you mentioned one of them last time. I picked it up, by the way.
I'm trying to find which one did you get?
How the Romans saw Christians. Or
whatever. Yeah, I love that book. I'm trying to remember the name of this book. It's a book. It's a compilation of a lot of different early Christians. I don't see it, and I can't remember the name of it. David Bercot is the author. I do know that, or is it Bercot? I don't know if I'm saying his last name right. Bercot. Eberhard Arnold, the early Christians in their own words. It's a great book.
Okay.
And then this is the David Bercot, a dictionary of early Christian beliefs. A
dictionary. Dude, thank you for that guy. Thank you. That's good.
It says a reference guide to more than 700 topics discussed by the early church fathers. It's fantastic. If you want to know how we should be behaving as Christians, If you don't want to read the Bible, this is how the early church behaved. This is what they thought of government. This is what they thought about enemy love. It's all in here.
Nice.
Pick them up. It's a really cool book, and it's a good resource. I mean, because I've read it, but I forget it sometimes, so I have to go back and read it sometimes too to kind of refresh my memory. But Tertullian's awesome. I think I told you this. Tertullian, I don't agree with him on his belief in the way he viewed the afterlife. But when it came to the stuff of the government, I believe he was spot on. Probably the most outspoken early Christians when it came to the state. The affairs of the state are completely foreign to us. I love that line. When you think about how Christians viewed the state back then, prior to Constantine, they had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I will not occupy a voter's booth. These are the words of Tertullian. I will not run for office. I do not seek office. I will not be a magistrate. All these things that Christians are doing today. I love that we're going to make it we're going to try and get more Christians into office. What? You know who's controlling that government? You're not going to change Satan. You're not going to change Satan. That's not our job.
Right.
I'm trying to do it to this
with darkness.
Yeah, but anyway, these two books are fantastic. I can't remember. I got them off of Amazon, so I can't remember how much they were, but they're fantastic. If you want a good resource to read some early church stuff, these are really probably my two favorite books on the matter, because whenever we started the project, and it took me a minute to really start thinking about going into early church history. But the whole idea behind the bad Roman was, the way sometimes being a good Christian means being a bad Roman. That's how they all behaved back then. So then the more I thought about it, getting into early church history, man, and I think the older I've gotten really more interested in history type stuff, and early church history is really cool to me. Now, I told Jason Porterfield on recently, and we were talking a little bit about, he's got some good resources when it comes to early church as well. And I told him, I said, sometimes when I'm reading some of this stuff, I feel like I was born in the wrong era. I feel like because I'd like to be able to fellowship with Christians like that, like the early church. The way I think Christians do the early church such a disservice by not reading their stuff. There's so much more past the Bible. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't read your Bible, but there's so much more writings afterwards. Just because it's not scripture or it's not canonized or whatever you want to call it, doesn't mean that they didn't have something to say. When you talk about somebody like Polycarp, he was taught directly by the Apostle John. Why wouldn't we listen to Polycarp and what he had to say? If he was taught by the Apostle John, why wouldn't we want to know what Polycarp thought about things? When he was martyred, to the end, they were trying to get him to swear allegiance to Caesar. He said, "Hear me now, I am a Christian." I think he was 80-something years old. He said, I'm making up a number. 84 for 84 years now, I've served him, my Lord and my King, and he has done me no harm. Why would I leave him now? And I'm paraphrasing some of that. Think about the mentality. They tried to burn him alive, and it did not kill him, so they ended up having to go stab him to finish him off. And that's one thing I told Jason Porterfield too. I said, I feel like I was born in the wrong era, but the things that they went through, we take that so lightly now. We don't think about what they were so convinced of who Jesus is as their king that they were willing to die for it. They were not afraid to die. But I told Jason too, I said, I wonder if I'd have been that strong. I can sit here in 2025 and spout off a lot of things that the early church said, but I wonder how strong I'd have been in the face of something like that.
Right.
But what you were talking about, Stephen, when seeing God and Jesus on the right hand, I feel like when they were being martyred, I feel like God gave them all that image to keep them at peace.
Yeah.
I feel like every one of them that were martyred could see that, and so it didn't bother them. I shared a post about a lady, I can't remember her name. It's on our Facebook page, but there's a whole story of her of being martyred. Christians are starting to lose hope and starting to, kind of fall into this whole idea that we want to die. And then she was so brave and so outspoken that all of her words gave them courage to stand up and keep talking about Jesus as king, even under their death. There's an early church mother, I guess you should say, Perpetua. Very brave lady. I've got a cat. I named her Perpetua. I mean, if you go read about Perpetua. Polycarp, even when they came to arrest him, bringing him up again, when they went to arrest him, he had his servants feed them before they arrested him. Think about that. He knew what they were there for.
Right.
He knew what was happening. It's the same thing that Jesus did. This is Saturday, the day before Easter, the day before the resurrection, right?
Yeah.
Think about this a second. Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. What did Jesus do? He washed his feet. I got a tattoo. It says right here, Judas ate too. Jesus fed him, knowing what Judas was going to do. And it's the same mentality that the early church had, even under their death. They took on the personality of their king, Jesus the king, and not the personality of their president or their earthly king. This is what Christians need to think about. We need to take on the personality of Jesus and not a president. It's time. And I said this earlier, we don't have time to gloss over. We don't have time to sugarcoat it. It's time. We're running out of time, and we got to keep moving forward. Because if you don't think that won't happen to us at some point, you're being completely naive.
Yeah.
The government does not care about you. They will kill you. There's going to come a time, and I could see Trump behaving this way, wanting people to swear allegiance to him. I could see him behaving this way.
Yeah.
And that's why, like I told you earlier, I said I think he's a very dangerous man right now because he's not doesn't have to run for re-election.
Right.
But if you're listening to this and you want, just consider it. At least think about it. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at Brandon. Just sit and think about it for a second. Think about it. Go read this stuff. Go read how the early Christians behaved. It will change your perspective. It did mine. It really solidified. I mean, I've been reading the Bible my whole life.
Yeah.
But whenever I got into the early church history and read the writings of Tertullian, Polycarp, Origen, you go down the line of early Christians. Once I started reading the way they behaved, and when it came to the empire or just loving your enemy, it solidified what I was thinking.
Your conviction.
I mean, I was starting to see it. I was starting to understand that my behavior was not in line with the teachings of Christ. But when I read this stuff, I don't know what it is about their writings. And like I said, it's not because I don't love the Bible. It's something about these extra writings that we don't take. We don't take seriously. There's something about them that really just locked it in for me.
Well, it's as you just said, I'm not a Caesarean, I'm a Christian. And everybody wants to do Christian plus with an adjective of a denomination, whereas the other one is an identity. I am convinced in what I believe in. And I think that's beautiful, dude. I like how you phrased that, is they wanted to take on the identity of who the Messiah is and live it. And today everybody's like, well, my theology says this, that theology says that, and this one justifies my nationalism. And you've inverted the whole premise of what the early church was trying to do. Saint, we're done. We're set apart. We ain't doing that no more. Go away.
And I want to say something too, that you need to realize too, that when you're behaving this way, you're turning people into atheists, you're turning people off, turning people away from Christ. When you're taking on the identity of Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or whoever your favorite tribal master is, I don't care. When you're taking on that identity, you're turning people off. Do you ever watch it's a podcast on YouTube with the Soft White Underbelly?
No.
It's pretty cool. There's some really interesting stories on it. He has people on some really interesting stories. And I was watching one last night. This lady, and he asked her if she believed in God, and she said no. And the more she talked, you could hear why. It was because of the way she's seen other Christians behave. Yeah. She even said, she goes, we've got thousands of different denominations. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? So we've got 50 50+ thousand denominations in America alone. That's confusion.
Yes.
You know, you're taking on the identity of the beast.
Mm.
You know, you're not. God, I'm not saying that people are satanic or whatever. I'm just saying you're not taking on the identity of Jesus.
Right.
Why do we have so many denominations? She was right. I couldn't disagree with her. She's an atheist, but I think she could work her way out of that. But there's a reason why there's people that don't believe. It's because of you.
Yes.
Not you, Brandy. You know what I mean? But
that goes into I did a Venn diagram of the I problem. Is people are upset with the the ideologies or the institution, and they again with like anarchy or libertarian. You take the philosophy and you mix it with secularism, right? Or you blame the institution, like I was abused by a Christian, blah blah blah, and there's right. And at a certain point, you as the individual, they want you to either go into this pool or that pool, and or both. Totally fine. Whereas Christ is saying, "Hey, can you leave those other two circles and come over here and follow me?" And like you, I listen to these people, and I'm like, "You're making excellent points." There's this one guy I was doing a show with, and as he's asking me, dude, I'm seeing the gears click for him because he's going, "That sounds more like the Christ of the Golden Rule that at least he's familiar with, right?" And I said, "Yes, that is exactly the Christ that you're supposed. You're the one. What you feel convicted on, that is the Christ that is supposed to be emulated in a real Christian. And everybody instead, they want a political party adjective. I want my gender adjective. I want this adjective. It's like, no, we don't do adjective plus around here as Christians. Just Christ.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah, and my biggest fear is to be a stumbling block for another person. You don't want to be a stumbling block, and I think when you're a lot of people they think of their politics and their Christianity, it goes hand in hand together, which is not true. It's not supposed to. That's not the way this works.
Right.
But if you're doing that, you're going to cause somebody to stumble. And I think there's something in the Bible about that we should not be doing that. I mean,
cause your brother to stumble. Yeah.
We're not supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Politics is you're going to make people stumble. You get like this lady on that show I was talking about. She thinks this way because she's seen how Christians behave.
Mm-hmm.
That should scare the hell out of you.
Yes.
If you are causing people to not believe in the creator of this world because of your actions, you're being a stumbling block. And I feel like we're going to have to answer for that.
Yeah.
That's why I try to pull punches sometimes and be a little more great, give people a little more grace. But man, with this whole stuff that we've talked about all through today I've increasingly become more frustrated with them. And like I told you earlier, I think it has a lot to do with, I have friends and family who are dug in. And now I will say this too, they don't speak out like a lot of these idiots do. So, but I do know how they believe. I do know that they were excited when he got elected. But we just keep talking, keep plugging along, man. We just keep going. Like you said, just plant some seeds, dust your sandals. If they're not having it, dust your sandals off. Jesus said that. Dust your sandals off.
Yeah.
That's why if we're wasting time on social media arguing with people about they're gone. They can't be reached. They've been turned over. God's turned them over to the reprobate mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so dust your sandals off, dust your boots off, whatever you wear on your feet, dust them off, walk away, and move forward. Because somebody out there are people I know this for a fact because of the 5 years that we've been doing our project, that there are people out there who are hungry. They are hungry for some truth. And it's what we talked about before, when I was on your show before, we're talking about the remnant.
Yes.
There's a remnant out there who are hungry. They see something's wrong. They don't know how to ask the right questions. They don't know where to get this information. They're not getting it in their churches. Like you said, you ball up your fist when you go to church. You're done with it. I've been done with it. I get pushback from people who listen to the show when I talk about that. I'm done with it. I'm not walking into a church who is in bed with the state. Okay? This is church to me. My podcast is church to me.
Yes, fellow. Yeah. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have to go to a building with a steeple to go to. That's not church. That's a corporation. I don't have time. I don't have time for it. We've got things to do.
Yes.
We got to be about the kingdom. of Christ. That's what we got. We don't have time. If you want to go to church, have a ball. I've seen too much in churches now, and the more dug in that I've got with this stuff. These folks were going to each other's houses to fellowship.
Yes.
They would change houses. They had to, because they had to hide from the Roman Empire.
Right.
But they weren't building big, magnificent buildings. They were going to each other's houses and fellowshipping, eating, taking care of each other. That's how we should be behaving.
Yeah.
That's how we change the world. Take on the identity of Christ. That's how the world changes.
Yeah.
You know,
it's an identity crisis.
For sure.
This is where I understood Nietzsche when he was talking. He says, "What are the churches now but the tombs and seculars of a dead God?" Because he's seeing people coming out. They're not living it when they leave the building. Yeah. I think there was an Indian philosopher. He phrased it, "I like your Christ. I'm not so fond of his Christians."
That's Gandhi.
Was it Gandhi? I think some people were saying this, that, and the other thing, and I was like, "Meh, I get it. I
like your Christ, but I don't like your Christianity."
Yeah, and it really does make you think, dude. And I think it was Anomaly, the rapper. He said one bar that really made me think. He says, "You can keep the church. I'll bring the sermon."
I like that.
And I'm like, yeah, because it's not about a building, it's about a body. And I remember I was saying to the pastor at the church formerly before he left, I said, I feel like we're putting so much money towards these building projects that we're missing out on getting in touch with the people. Mm-hmm. And I swear, dude, he looks at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, see, you don't get it. You're so busy with construction and this thing and that thing. I said, there's people out here that they feel disconnected, right? And they want to connect. They want to have fellowship. And we're denying them that because we're so focused with materialism, temporary things.
Yeah.
I ain't got time for temporary. Eternity is calling.
Yeah.
Have
you seen that movie? I can't remember the name of it. It's Ice Cube's in it, where they go and rob a church. Have you seen this?
I might have seen a clip because it sounds vaguely familiar.
I can't remember. It was on. I saw it on yesterday. I watched part of it. I had to get to making salsa, but I was. He was talking to the preacher in the church, and he wanted them to take him to the safe because he needed the money or whatever. But the preacher was saying, "You can't rob from God. You can't rob from the church." And then Ice Cube looked at him. He said, "I'm doing the exact same thing that you do on every Sunday."
Oh,
I was like, okay,
dude.
Yeah,
and it's true.
Yeah,
it's true. Wow.
Yeah. Shouting a little truth with a pistol in his hand.
It's true, though. It's true. Anyways, speaking of support, as I said, people have been leaving the pulpit to go to podcasts. Is there any way that they can support you, the salsa that you mentioned, and where they can find your work?
Thebadroman.com is you're going to find all our podcasts. Any podcatcher, you're going to find The Bad Roman. I do make homemade salsa, as I stated the first time on your show. Set up at farmers markets. I ship the salsa across the country. If you want to support the project, the salsa is very good. I'm very proud of it. It's a cool way to support the project. I can send you some salsa. Can't really order it online yet. I was talking to a girl earlier about she's going to help me build a website for it, I think, and we'll get moving on that. But you can email that at badromansalsa@gmail.com, or there's a Facebook page, Bad Roman Salsa. Go check that out. You message me there, or go to the Bad Roman Facebook page and message me there as well. So, and we're on Instagram. Don't do a whole lot on Instagram or X, but Facebook is probably the best way to get in touch with me. Or at thebadroman.com, you can send us an email, or the badromanpodcast@gmail.com as well. So I appreciate you having me back on, man. This is a very cool conversation. I was going to tell you before. Yeah. I was going to tell you before we started, I'm not used to being up this early, because I work. Yeah, I know. Well, because I work I'm used to being. I usually don't go to bed till like 6 o'clock in the morning.
No, I used to work
because of my work schedule.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking, man, is my mind going to be working? That's why I was drinking this little energy drink, which I don't recommend, but I just try to get my brain going. And once we got started, I was like, oh, I can do this. This is I like this conversation. This is when you message me wanting me to come back on and talk about this, like, yeah, I can do this. This is easy.
Dude, sometimes it's just good to vent, but it also has been encouraging a lot of folks. Like I said, under the last one, a lot of people were writing very positive feedback of what you had to say and what your message is presenting. And a lot of people actually are saying, finally, my two favorite podcasters are coming together. So
yeah,
that's
cool.
appreciated.
And I always appreciate going on to other people's shows, because it's a new audience to talk about what we're doing. You've got your ministry, I've got my ministry with this, and so it's a different. We're doing different things, but we're all working towards the same goal. So it's
right.
I always appreciate and jump to the opportunity to get to go talk to a new audience about what we're doing. I got another one I'm going on. I think it's a fairly new podcast, but I don't turn them down. If it's a new audience, let's talk. If you want to know more about No King But Christ, man, I got you. We can talk about it. I got it's kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
As you can see,
so I will put those books that you recommended for another one that like you were saying, I really liked Pagan Christianity by Frank Viola. That one really, I was reading one of the stanzas, like, if you ever feel like you're going to church and blah 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 blah, you probably feel like you're doing something wrong. And I'm like, yes, that's a me. But he was breaking down how the early church kind of mingled and how we got a lot of that pagan concepts into the church and how we should get away from that and let the Holy Spirit lead us and Institutions of Man. And then the other one, Bloody Zion by Edward Hendry. That one helped clear up a lot of the secret society / what Christ was going up against the Pharisees. Highly recommend those two books. And I'll put the two that you mentioned and the other two in the inscription. And I will end with this, folks, because I was hit with it. And I think I have a new title for this episode. It's going to be Boots and Sandals. So remember to dust off your sandals and to stop licking boots. And I'm the Manna Daily Podcast, and you can find me on Spotify, Rumble, and YouTube. And folks, I will catch you on the next one.